how does Norway's largest bank develop through its customers and maintain a forward-looking focus? Ensuring simplicity, DNB's path towards revitalizing its future. Hello everyone, my name is Ibrahim, and I'm with my team from Element Strategy Group, Margie, Makita, and Zena. By ensuring simplicity, DNB's path towards future pension resilience becomes clearer. We'll present our solution to you and show you how we got there today. After mitigating some of our risks in our implementation, we'll focus upon some contingencies and wrap up. How do we develop a customer mindset and allow for a clear situation? Our customers focus on present bias. They value short-term rewards over long-term gains, believing things will always get better. At the same time, a mindset of having too much information helps to walk back some of the previous feelings. Understanding some of our financial products and a lack of motivation in discounting opportunities for the future. The paradox of information means that too much information leads us not to make choices. Corporate social responsibility is key in understanding our younger customers in the Norwegian target market. Over 80% of youth surveyed believe that it's important for brands to exhibit corporate social responsibility. At the same time, over 22% of people aged 18 to 29 actively save for their retirement. This boils down to the following question: how can we simplify the savings process for the younger generation? We've come up with a little acronym that we think you'll remember. DNB. Developing our clientele's financial acumen and nudging customers to make good savings decisions through technology. At the same time, building Norway's pension plan resilience against future uncertainty. Profitability is a key decision factor which we've analyzed. Scalability and potential to grow in the long run helps us mitigate against future trends. At the same time, the importance that our core young customers place upon social impact is a key driver in our decision analysis. Digital trends allows us to capitalize upon emerging technologies, ensuring that we're not simply keeping up with our competition, but rather getting ahead. Pension resiliency allows us to overcome these systematic deficiencies in the future throughout the Norwegian pension market. We considered 3 other alternatives in analyzing our decision. However, we believe that they are all short-term solutions to a longer-term issue. Automated portfolio management as its own standalone offering doesn't take into account the fact that customers might feel insecure when working with a brand new bank. Expanded product features to millennial customers doesn't account for the fact that we need to sell customers the benefits, not the features, not the information. FinTech partnerships to develop customer-facing data capabilities doesn't ensure our full control over our product development. And while the idea of FinTech might sound cool, it doesn't necessarily solve the full problem here. I'll now pass it to Margie to dig a little deeper into Project DNB.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thinking about our solution, we needed to come up with something much more sustainable for the long term and at the same time simplify the retirement saving process for our customers. Now, we believe that our DNB plan would be much more sustainable, especially thinking about the key statistics in Norway. So for instance, 91% of Norwegians use the internet for banking, and by 2022, over 4.7 million Norwegians will use mobile for internet. Now let's dig a little deeper into our first part, D for develop. Develop your clientele's financial acumen. Touching into the key issues discussed earlier, we understand that a lot of our customers think in the short term and don't really think long term in terms of the benefits that they gain out of saving. So for instance, in this prototype that we have, you can see our customer, Jan, saving month after month. If you break down a bigger goal into smaller chunks, such as, for example, month by month, you can track your progress and make sure that you are saving every week and building every month, every week, or so on and so forth, building on for the long term. Secondly, a lot of people are not really sure how their pension works or how it's broken down, or even how much they're actually required to save in order to live a comfortable life later on. So for instance, in our prototype over here, you can see how it's broken down. So for example, with national insurance, private savings, and occupational pension. By having this breakdown, this will encourage people to save more of their own personal savings and not rely on other contributions as well. And thus, this will ultimately lead to DNB's mission of ensuring that no DNB customer retires poor. Thirdly, a lot of people don't really know how it works in terms of investing, especially how there are a lot of options available to them. So for instance, in our own prototype, we also have this investor profile where you can say, oh, I want to save for 35 years down the road. And you have questions around risk tolerance, security, your financial security, or even what type of portfolio management you would like. In particular, we understand that our customer base is very much into corporate social responsibility, and socially responsible is one of the options we have for our portfolios. Finally, in terms of investing your own money, a lot of people don't really understand how it all pans out in the long term. So for instance, in this graph above, you can see how it's broken down. So for instance, if you put 100,000 kroner, let's say, you could say that 27% of them come into government bonds, and then you also have dividend stocks and so on and so forth. And at the bottom, you would see how it would all come together if you were to save in an investment versus a savings account year after year. And now I will pass it on to Mikita, who will discuss the following steps.
Thank you, Margie. So we recognize that there's often a disconnect between the planner part of our customers and the doer part of our customers. They often plan one thing, but end up doing another. And we want to make it a little easier for them to achieve their financial goals. That's what Nudge, the second part of the DNB strategy, is all about. By making unintrusive but highly customized notifications to the customer, we can help them achieve their financial goals by always keeping them thinking about the future. For example, take your daily spending and savings habits. If we want a customer to reduce a little bit of their luxury purchases, let's say some wine or some alcohol, we can send them a notification that says, consider saving that money, put it towards your future instead. Similarly, we can promote increasing future savings. We've heard that some customers have a hard time saving because they say, oh, my budget is already all spread out. Well, what if we encourage them to maintain the same lifestyle and put any future increases in pay from promotions or pay raises away for the future? We can also offer customers highly tailored information on products that may be relevant to them by periodically reminding them about insurance and other pension products at key milestones in their life, say buying a house or having kids. We can also use such a notification system for highly tailored product offerings such as social impact, which we know is a growing trend in the industry. And through machine learning and by using all the data that we receive from customers and seeing how they interact with this, we can continue to improve these notifications and make them highly targeted so we know when they're most effective. Let's take a look at how this looks in reality. On the left, you can see a socially responsible notification prompting a customer to consider looking into some socially responsible options. On the very right, you could see a little nudge asking a customer, have you thought about your investment strategy? Would you like to refine it? And in the middle, we can see a customer conversing with an advisor to help them find the best investment plan for them, since we know that having a personal conversation is often highly valued in the financial industry. Finally, we hope to culminate all of this through Build, which involves building Norway's pension plan resiliency. By making our portfolio products and our app very easy to use, we hope to make it very accessible and have a great customer experience. By improving our customers' financial knowledge, we hope that we will ease the future burden on the pension plan by making customers more realistic on how much they need to save. At the same time, we can enhance the bank's revenue by cross-selling the different products and making bespoke product lines for them, as we will be able to use all the data we receive to create individualized plans. And finally, DNB can feel good about this plan as it is corporately socially responsible by making sure that saving and investing and a good plan for the future is available to everyone. We also have some tactics to market this plan to move it throughout society. First, we will start with our high potential users, positioning the app and its convenience and helping them to adopt. We will also consider some parents of maybe teenagers, 16 to 17-year-olds, to encourage them to get into the habit of saving and thinking about the future. Next, we will initiate a referral program for net new customers, asking people to give referrals using word of mouth, since we believe that's the best way to gain new customers. By offering current customers a discount or free management for certain amounts of funds, we hope that this will spread the message about our app throughout the community. Lastly, we hope to convert these new customers into primary customers and have them hold more of their money with DNB. Since it's common for Norwegians to have more than one bank, we want DNB to be their primary bank, and we can offer them fee discounts or waivers as a result. And I'll pass it off to Zina to talk more about how this all comes together.
Thank you, Makita. So now that we've talked a little bit about all the benefits that DNB and Norway can experience through this plan, you might be wondering, well, how much exactly does this cost? Now, we do live in the era of big data and machine learning, and so when we look at some of these new technological trends, we might think that they're unattainable or too expensive, when in reality, they're actually quite feasible. So the total plan in total will cost about 2 million kroner as an initial investment. Now, that might seem like a lot. This is only the R&D cost that will only come at the beginning of this project. So as we can see, in 2018 and 2019, we will have negative profits on this project specifically due to the high R&D cost. However, as we acquire more and more customers, we'll actually benefit from economies of scale. And so with these investments, we'll actually be able to capture significant values with the customer lifetime value of 2 million kroner for each one of our customers. Not only that, we do see this plan helping DNB achieve its financial goals in the future, as based on our projections, which we can talk more about later, we believe that DNB should be able to achieve its ROE goal in 2021. Now, looking a little bit at the risks and mitigations, we can see that I want to point out two in particular that we've analyzed. We do live in the era of big data, and so sometimes we might be concerned about our data privacy and security. And so even after revamping this app, some customers may continue to not use our app because they're concerned about data. Now, there's two ways for us to mitigate this. One is by ensuring that the core capability of our simplifying investments are cross-platform, so that means they're on the web and they're on the mobile. Secondly, we can also mitigate this by making sure that our notifications continue to stay unobtrusive. Now, a second risk that we might encounter is lacking adoption to this new program. And so with this, we hope that our multi-product rebate when selling the life insurance and pension plans and furthering our marketing efforts will help to combat this. Now, looking a little bit at the implementation and timeline of this plan, we can see that we break this down into two main steps, mainly the app development itself and the marketing of the app. Now, if we look at this process, we can see that it's incredibly agile. And when we look at both the front end and the back end development, namely what the users see and what it powers on the back end, we'll also be releasing these minimum viable products constantly in order to make sure that, again, we're testing our features and nothing will ever crash when we need them. And it also allows DNB to actually start capturing some of those benefits earlier. So we can see that in this implementation plan, the first 2 years are a lot of development, and then there will be a 1-year beta for high-value customers, and then a full launch of our application. So what exactly does this look like going forward? It looks like us building financial literacy through education. It looks like us nudging our consumers to change their spending habits. It looks like us strengthening our customer relationships by increasing choice and better tailoring our recommendations through modern-day technologies such as machine learning. And it looks like us establishing a plan for Norway's future by fixing the deficiencies in current Norway's pension plan system. And ultimately, it's us moving DNB forward so that our customers can continue to stay ahead. Thank you, and we'd like to open the floor to any questions.
Thank you very much for a great presentation. My first question is, the hard issue is actually to get the young people's attention and finally get them to save. Can you elaborate on how are we gonna, with this solution, make sure that the young people come to us and really go over the barrier and start saving? Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Sure, of course. So as we already know, young people, you are a very popular bank with young people. And so we believe that it's not a matter of necessarily having to attract customers first. It's first convincing your current young customers to begin their savings and then recommending that same saving strategy to their friends. Because as we know, people often talk about their daily lives a lot. And we believe that it's often the very small things that can prompt you to begin thinking about the future. And if you are continually prompted to think about the future instead of, oh, I should probably save for retirement, and then forgetting 5 minutes later, if you're constantly reminded about the need to save for retirement, then you will be more likely to actually begin taking action on that plan and to make sure that your retirement savings are where they need to be.
I might just follow up on that. We call something rational ignorance, that we have this kind of information already today. Norwegians are spending more of the savings on the lottery than on mutual funds today, actually. So this app seems great, but again, can you try to elaborate how youngsters see why they are downloading this app in the first place? I can see when you are downloading this app, you're nudging them and you are feeding them with motivation, but from the start, how can we address this so they will download this app?
Yep, so I can take that. So ultimately, it goes back to the UX and UI experience. So for instance, when we looked at the DNB app and how it looks like currently, it seems like it's not intuitive in how to actually use it. So for instance, when it comes to saving, you need to simplify the whole process, and that comes down to breaking down the barriers and understanding financial literacy or understanding your own personal finances. We believe with everything that we have, you have the features that tell you how to do it and how you're doing along the way. So for instance, your own contributions, or even in the other slides as well with the investor profile. A lot of people don't really know, oh, what type of stocks am I supposed to buy? What's the mix that I'm supposed to buy? But then with those questions that prompt you, such as like your risk tolerance or your financial security situation, then the app is able to guide you in making those decisions. So through a combination of machine learning and through the functionalities, they would see the benefit as well if you give them the right tools to be able to save.
Right. And before they even get the app to their hands with the new platform, we will again test this out with our most valuable customers. And again, that already, and the idea of minimum viable product, where we're already featuring in some of these new ideas into the current app itself, means that we can start building customers through the current app usage. And our marketing tactics will again help to bolster and attract new customers to actually download the app and get on our platform to experience some of these benefits that Marty talked about.
Hi guys. So one question on the lifelong journey that you were talking about and the measures you were proposing. They were perhaps a little bit more into the adoption and the early phases. So could you comment a little bit on that? Because of course having the stickiness there will be very important provided high initial costs and investments getting this up and running.
Yeah. Actually, so with our current financial projections, we've really taken a very, very, very conservative estimate as to how many people will adopt. So if we actually just look at the financials themselves, when we did the financial analysis, as we see here, this is actually only based on approximately 2% of your customers converting, which means that it's very, very easy for you guys to convert maybe even that 8% that you already have using your app to this, and ultimately your revenues will increase much, much more than what we've projected here. But because we wanted to keep this more down to earth and more conservative, we only used a very small conversion ratio. Now, if we looked at how we could improve that conversion ratio given these very conservative estimates, again, we have this very extensive marketing plan because we do know that you can't just put an app on the market and expect people to use it. So we do have, again, this word of mouth, this rebate, and simply just continuing in the way that we've kind of approached this app now, we can advertise it on our website, which we know a lot of people are using. We can feature it in potential video ads as well. And furthermore, how many times have you been using an app, or maybe you go to dinner and then you and your friend want to split a bill, and you're like, oh, well, I'll just transfer you some money using my DNB app. That'll start a conversation. Your friend will look at, wow, what is this app? Wow, it looks so good. Wow, how can I get on it? And again, just so through these sort of natural connections and natural integrations, we'll build a much bigger user base than the 2% that we've assumed here. Yeah.
So we know that user connection is an important factor for the success of an app. So have you considered in how to incorporate the feature of user connection into the app you proposed?
Yes, so you mean connections between different users. Yeah, so one of the major things that we hope to as well implement into this is the idea of having this rebate that you can share with your friends. So let's say that you have the DNB app now, and you refer a friend to also use your app. So now you can get 10,000 managed for free, and your friend can also get 10,000 managed for free, or some kind of model like that where it kind of encourages those peer-to-peer connections. And in the future, we can also potentially maybe introduce some kind of aspect where, oh, here I'm achieving my financial goals, and we might not share what those financial goals are, but we could share percentages. I've achieved 50% of my financial goal, my friend has achieved 43%. Now I can be like, hey, I've achieved 50%, why have you only achieved 43%? And again, it just, sparks that conversation around our app. So engaging that connection can be done in many ways, especially with a versatile app that we've created.
So another issue is retention. So how is this app helping DNB to retain clients? And I'm looking at these messages that you're sending and keep them more aware, but then I can turn off those messages. So is that the only strategy to keep people aware, or is there something more on this strategy?
Well, we're assuming that people still use their banking app kind of day-to-day or on a frequent basis. And so there are messages encouraging or even updating you on your progress on the home screen when you sign in. Because we understand that some people do turn off their notifications, they might see them as annoying. So having those notifications kind of in the app itself on the home screen when you sign in keeps you always thinking about your future progress.
And furthermore, the entire way that our app is laid out means that every sort of aspect of it is driven by our interactions with you and the data that we collect on you, which means that even the way that we show the home screen might be different. Maybe we put investments first if you're looking into investments. And a lot of this is driven through our machine learning algorithm. So as you can see, as we collect data, we understand our customers more, and as we understand our customers more, we'll be able to create nudges that are more and more tailored and bespoke to that customer themselves, which means that through our algorithm, eventually our customers won't see these notifications as annoying, they'll see them as helpful because they'll be truly tailored.
I really love that concept of the nudging, because I think that's a very realistic approach. But at the same time, your examples from, please don't take that next glass of alcohol. I mean, would you consider any reputational or, the issues of all these kind of nudges? How can you monitor that so you are actually within, people's acceptance of what you actually nudge them to?
I think ultimately with regards to a lot of the retention, you want them to be a customer for life. So of course when we launch, there is an A/B testing phase, and there is initial areas for us to see what the nudges are like and how customers react, which can be optimized over time, because ultimately it's about being simple. So whether that simplicity is tailored to their lifestyle, if they enjoy a nice glass of wine with dinner and are willing to maybe take a rest from it, that can be played into as a goal for the future. So it's a lot of looking at a future orientation standpoint and helping customers realize that it really is in their best financial interests, and it also helps keep their overall life simpler.
And furthermore, just the app, the way that the app is built, the way that it's really built is that we're not going to all of a sudden show you some stuff about, let's say you recently bought a crib. We're not going to suddenly be like, oh, you should buy some life insurance because we think you're expecting, because that'd be weird and creepy, right? So what we would do maybe first is go into the investments page and offer them a few discounts. And if they click into that and we see that they're interested in that, then we can do it more organically and say, hey, we noticed you were on our investments page, and we noticed that you were interested in these investments and insurance products. Would you like to speak to an advisor now, where then they can talk to a human customer or a human representative? And from the reputational risk point of view, again, these initial nudges can be quite simple and quite not necessarily as tailored, but as we get to know that customer more, we will know what they can and cannot like. And again, that'll help to as well mitigate the reputational risk, yeah.
I certainly agree that would be creepy kind of suggestion, so that was a good thing. You propose a 2-year development period and then implementation after that. Is that too long? I mean, there are competitors out there. There might be competitors in this room listening into what you propose. And 2 years from now in this world is quite a long time. What's your thought about that?
So again, we've been extremely conservative with the way that we've done this analysis. The actual development of the machine learning, well, first of all, we know that we are going to release minimum viable products as soon as possible, which means that we're not actually launching in 2 years. That's the full hard launch if we looked at it from a waterfall perspective, but some of these general features are already getting implemented into your app already without your users being aware of it. Now, when it comes to a sort of risk mitigation kind of view, I think that DNB is in a really great point to sort of capture this market share immediately, because they are, again, the largest bank, which also means that they have the largest data, which means that something you can consider in the future is white labeling this product and then pushing it out to the other banks as well. Because again, yes, maybe you're right. Maybe a bank could go out today and try and develop it, but they don't have nearly as much data as you do. They don't have nearly the kind of information that you do. And also, they don't understand your customers like you do. And so that means that in the future, when, let's say, a Spar Bank also wants to get in on this, you can white label your product to them, run it for them, and then collect revenues on that as well, which again helps you diversify your revenue stream. So it's a win-win-win.
Is the plan to implement this app with what you get from your employer, what you get from the national insurance as well, or is this a standalone saving app for pensions you are saving to by yourself?
Yep, so it's mostly a standalone for yourself, because we understand that in terms of your national pension and your employer pension, it's capped at a certain point, and at the same time, we have to think long-term for the future generations in terms of the savings that we have from the national pension. So in this case, we are really encouraging our own customers to save personally for themselves, because ultimately, that's what's going to help them live a more comfortable life later on.
One more question, and this has to do with one of the things I read in the case. And we have quotes from customers interviewed, and I trust the government to take care of me. So how all this strategy is helping people to actually believe that the pensions are going to be well managed in light of what we have seen before. So many people had the pensions with banks in 2008. They were lost. So how is this actually going aligned with that kind of perception that the clients can have?
Well, I'll first start by saying we want people to be very realistic about their pensions, and we want to make sure that they realize that simply depending on the government won't be enough if they want to maintain a good quality of living, or if they want to reach their financial goals like traveling during their retirement. But we also hope that continually giving them updates and saying, this is where you are.
Sorry, unfortunately, the time is up. I have to stop you there.